Welcome to FBB Forum. If you like this content, please be sure to like and subscribe to the FBB Forum YouTube channel and follow my Instagram page. I'm very excited to welcome the stunning IFBB Pro women's physique athlete Hayley Perry back to the podcast. Hayley recently took a 14-month break from competing and took some time to grow and improve her physique. She's competed in May at this last year's Optimum Pro in Shreveport, where she placed in the top three, and 2 weeks later competed in June at the Omaha Pro, where she looked really amazing and placed in the top three. I'm sorry, top four. Her husband, Marcus Perry, is a Classic Physique Pro, and they're just an amazing bodybuilding power couple. Stay tuned to find out where they will compete next, not just her, but they. Thank you for joining me again, Hayley. It's always a pleasure to speak with you, and I'm really honored to get a chance to speak with you again.
Always great talking with you. Thank you for having me again.
Thank you, Hayley. And I do want to warn the visitors or the listeners that we're having a little bit of technical difficulties. So hopefully this thing will work out okay. We'll make it work. So
We'll make it work.
yeah, definitely. Um, so, we know you competed at the Omaha Pro and Optimum Pro this year so far, back in May and then in June, 2 weeks apart. What was your experience like at those shows, and did you enjoy competing in those?
Yeah, they were great. Honestly, I loved both of them for different reasons, but I really went into this season feeling a bit more comfortable. This is my second season competing as a pro. So my first season, it was just a lot of nerves and not knowing how I was gonna, things would shake out with other pros. And this this season, I really wanted to like solidify myself as like, a solid pro and knowing that I can and walk in and hopefully get a first call out. So thank goodness, so far I'm 2 for 2 for that. So, and I've been able to compete with some really good competition and really meet some amazing women within the division, and it's been an awesome experience. I'm really lucky to be able to be in this position. Sometimes it's easy to kind of get jaded and lose sight of that. So I always tried to, throughout this prep, I've always tried to keep that mindset of like staying grateful of just being able to have this opportunity. So it's been great so far.
That's terrific. Yeah, I like that the idea of staying grateful, and like you said, it's only your second competitive season, so for you to be getting first call outs this year so far, I think you're doing a terrific job, and you have your we've discussed this before, but your flow and your posing on stage is just remarkable. I think you just really um just kind of magnetic presence on stage, definitely.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I take a lot of pride in my posing. It's That's one thing that has always been a pet peeve of mine when I see competitors and especially the ones with great physiques, but they don't take the time to, put the finesse and the sparkle on their posing because it really does like it can totally change your stage presence. So, but I appreciate that gets noticed, and I put even more practice into my posing this year than I had at any other years. So I'm glad I I'm glad it paid off.
I could tell your posing was just really amazing, and yeah, you really look great
Yeah.
up there. And you just had, yeah, just really good flow, like I said, that other competitors in those two shows really didn't have, I think. So so yeah, it was you, yeah, your hard work has paid off for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Now, we talked a little bit about this, but where do you hope to compete next?
So next, because I debated after Omaha, um, I debated shutting it down after that and, taking the off season and improving some areas that I'd like to improve. But I was like, I think I got one more in me. So the plan is to do Chicago, which is 12, we're currently 12 days out, I think. So almost there.
That's great, and not too far away from you, right? Because you're in Ohio.
Yeah, fortunately, I mean, it's a pretty easy drive. We can get there in like 4.5 hours.
Really?
So
Oh, so you don't even have to fly there, huh?
no, no, yeah, we're just gonna drive.
That's terrific. And your husband Marcus is going to compete there too, right?
Yes, he is. I don't know if he wants me telling everyone, but it's okay. I'm telling everyone. He's doing
Oh,
Chicago with me.
that's awesome. Okay, very cool. And he
Yeah, this
does.
is gonna be what's that?
Oh, he does classic physique. Is that right?
He does, yeah, this is, he's been to the Olympia twice. So and actually last year, he won Chicago Pro, so he wanted to come back and hopefully win that one again. I think he definitely can.
Oh, I think so
He's
too.
pretty good.
Is this his first show of the year, or has he done other shows?
Nope, this is his first show of the year.
Really? Wow, that's amazing. And
Yeah.
we before the call or the recording started, we talked about maybe y'all should do like a guest posing mixed pairs up on stage. I think that would be cool.
I know, we were talking, I want a petition to bring back the mixed pairs because we would totally dominate that division. I think I think we need to make this happen.
I love that idea. I think that would be awesome. Yeah,
I
mixed pairs was so cool too, back in the day.
I know, I love that they did that. I really wish they would bring it back.
The only thing I can see being an issue is like the liability, because if you're like got the oil on you and you're like throwing your partner around, that you could slip and then like throw him off
True.
the stage or something.
I don't know if he'd be throwing me around, that'd be too dangerous, but turn into a contact sport, we can't have that.
No, 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 that would be bad. Yeah, that would be bad. It could you combine yeah, like fit or mixed pairs with figure. I mean, not figure fitness, where they're jumping around and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
so
wish I
that
had the skills to do that.
would.
Tumbling and stuff, oh gosh, I would fall flat on my face.
Oh no, I think there's a lot of injuries involved in that too. That's tough too.
I
Yeah,
know, I have mad respect for those fitness girls because yeah, they put their bodies through some crazy stuff.
they do. They do. You're right. Yeah, it's amazing what they do. It was hard to watch the Olympia last year to see the two ladies get injured on
I
stage. I was like, oh gosh, it's terrible. So
know, it's
yeah,
heartbreaking.
yeah, that was not good. Now I was curious. I think you made a lot of physique improvements from 2023 to 2024. But did you get any feedback from the judges at Omaha and Optimum in terms of where to improve your physique or your presentation?
Yeah, the main critiques for me would be to improve my conditioning, which I knew that, and just bring more of my upper body up. I've always been lower body dominant,
Hmm.
but also that's one thing that, especially as pros, but with what we do in competing, which is really hard for a lot of competitors, you really do have to be able to take a step back and look at yourself as objectively as possible.
Yeah,
And so when I did do that, and I compare myself to the girls that are placing higher, the girls that are in the first, second, third spots, and I see the gaps, and I think I just need a little bit more maturity, a little bit more density up top,
hmm,
which, realizing the more people I compete with, a lot of these women that I talk to, they've been competing for 20 plus years,
yeah,
and I've been competing for 10, and sometimes that seems like a while to me, but I
mhm.
really like realized this season that I'm still, and I'm 34, so I feel like I'm
Mhm.
just kind of hitting my stride. I'm still kind of a baby when it comes to, pro women's physique. A lot
Yeah,
of these girls are, very seasoned, not in a bad way, just that they've been doing this a lot longer. So they just
that's
have
true.
more maturity than and more density than me.
Yeah,
So I think those are the two biggest things is conditioning and then just bringing up upper body, mainly like shoulder and back density.
yeah,
That's
sure.
just gonna come with time. So
Like we talked about with like Susan Graham, who won Omaha, she'd been competing for 20 years and a
mm,
pro for what 12 years, I think. So she,
yeah.
yeah, I know what you mean. You're still kind of new to the pro leagues and I almost feel like the judges are getting to know you too. So I think that's important too, to get
Mhm.
for the judges and the hype to be there, over time as well. So, but
Yeah,
I
I
think
mean,
you're making an impact though, I think in the sport for sure.
thank you. That means a lot, and I totally agree with you. I mean, the judges they have to see you, and you got to give them the opportunity to see your improvements, see your work over time, and what we do with bodybuilding. It's not a sprint. It's a marathon,
Mhm.
and so I'm just trying to you know do it in the best way for me, the safest way, always keeping my health first and foremost,
Mhm.
the top priority. And just not I'm not looking for a microwave effect. I know it's gonna take time and it's gonna take work, it's gonna take effort.
Mhm.
I've already been doing it for a decade, so I'm sure I'll continue to live this lifestyle, whether I'm competing or not. The bodybuilding is now ingrained in my lifestyle, and it's how I plan to continue to live my life.
Yeah.
So, you know, I I think it's one thing that I really try to instill, especially in my coaching clients, is that competing should add to your life. It shouldn't take away, and it shouldn't be your identity, your
Yeah.
sole identity. It's
Mhm.
something that we're all very passionate about, and it certainly defines us in many ways. It shapes us in many ways, but
Mhm.
it's not the end all be all.
Yeah.
There's a lot more to all of us than just competing.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And just if you really think about how little time you're on stage, you can't define your life by that a small amount of time, right?
Yeah. And there's just so much in this sport that is out of our control.
Mhm.
It's that so many people just go crazy, like, worrying about. Like, you can't control who shows up, you can't control, the judging panel or what they like that day,
Mhm.
so I just try and focus on my controls and just work on making a better me. Because, like you said, for this only being my 2nd year competing as a pro, I'm doing pretty well. Like, instead, I could be like, of course, I went into this season hoping for an Olympia qualification, and whether that happens or not, you know, I could be all down in the dumps, like, oh, I didn't get a win. I'm not going to the Olympia this year. Instead, like, no, that I take a step back and I realize, like, this is my only my 2nd year competing as a pro, and I've got, a 3rd place, a 4th place under my belt against some Olympians. Like, that is nothing to be sad or negative about
Yeah,
whatsoever.
totally agree with you on that. No, I think that's a lot to be proud of and a lot of accomplishment. So yeah, no, you definitely you should be proud of that, I think. So yeah, and I'm proud of you too. I've been following your career for a few years, so no, you're killing it. I think you're doing great for sure.
I know you have. You've been so supportive.
Oh,
Thank
thank
you.
you. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Thank you. Hold on a second. Okay, now I'm back. Sorry about that. I think I pushed the wrong button there. I wanted to ask you real quick about you had taken like a we had in the intro I mentioned a 14-month break from competing, and I was curious if you made any changes to your training or prep during that time to help improve on stage.
Um, I didn't do any drastic changes because really, I've I've been pretty fortunate that each year I continue to get a little bit, what we did the year prior worked, so we might as well just continue with that same training schedule. I did my nutrition the cleanest I'd ever cleaned it. You okay?
Yeah,
Hmm,
I can hear you. It's being weird. I'm sorry.
huh.
Can you hear me? No, I got you frozen again. Ah, what a pain. Sorry, guys, we're still having some technical difficulties, but we're gonna get this working here. Um, so in terms of Marcus, is a bodybuilder too, and he's in Classic Physique Pro. And I actually asked you this question in my notes, but I think it's actually coming true that you guys will be competing in the same show. Is that the first time you've done that? Oop, I lost you again, I think.
Uh, Not the first ever, but our first pro show together, yes.
Oh, first pro show together. Oh, very cool. That's awesome. And in terms of, is that kind of tough both being on prep at the same time?
Um, I mean, it's tough, but we prefer to prep together.
Oh, you do really? Yeah. But y'all both be like hangry at the same time though and stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, as long as y'all can put up with each other, it's okay. Um, Now I was curious about your coach, Derek Natcher. I was wondering how long have you worked with him and what makes him a good coach in your opinion?
Been working with him since before I got my pro card. So, gosh, that was in 2021. So, going on 3 years now.
Oh, very
So,
cool.
and yeah, he's a great coach. He's very individualized in terms of I think he does a good job of taking the the client as, for who they are and kind of dictates their plan based off of that rather than just, a cookie cutter approach. This is what we do and that's the only way. Um
Mhm.
and he has a lot of trust in me and my experience and you know my training and everything like that. So he's a great person to kind of bounce ideas off of, and he also I think just is helpful to just kind of like keep my mind at ease, especially in a prep setting when your prep brain can get. So he's very good about kind of keeping me level headed and on track.
And his company's Loud Performance Coaching, is that right?
Hmm.
That's great. Yeah, I did talk with him at Omaha, and it was good to see him again. And yeah, he is a really good guy, and I think he seems like a really good coach.
Hmm. Yeah, he's solid.
Definitely, yeah. And do you have a posing coach currently too?
I don't know. I just do kind of all my posing myself. I study a lot of people, so I watch a lot of YouTube videos of other people posing, and I have some of my favorites that I look to for inspiration. But
Okay.
ultimately, I try to always still instill like my essence into my posing. So.
Yeah.
Um, that way it's still me. I don't wanna feel like I'm just, like, copying someone,
Yeah, sure.
but there are a lot of really great posers out there that I do get a lot of inspiration from, I get a lot of ideas from, and I kinda study movement patterns and stuff. I'll look when I'm doing cardio, I'll just, like, watch YouTube videos of choreography, like dancers and stuff, just to kinda look at, like, just how people move their body differently.
Okay.
And that's helped a lot.
That's terrific. That's really cool. Do you have a favorite
Mhm.
poser that or athlete who poses that you like the best or as a role model?
Gosh,
Put you on the spot.
it's hard to pick just one, wow. If I had to go with, like, current competitors, male best male poser would be Rough Diesel, Terrence Ruffin.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Probably my
he's good.
my favorite female poser, is probably either Rachel Daniels or honestly, I love Andrea Shaw's posing as well. I love her posing.
They're both really good. They're both so smooth on stage, and Rachel's really creative too. I like her
Yeah.
creativity. Yeah.
Mhm.
I like what you do kind of like with your wrists and stuff and your arms, just like I don't know, it just has a really cool look to it. It's neat.
Yes, I practice my hand motions a lot. That makes a difference on stage.
It does. I like it. It's really neat. I like the um yeah, just like I said, the flow and the look of it is really cool. So
Thank
yeah.
you.
Um I was curious now that you've come back to competing, have you seen kind of a boost in terms of fans and competitors reaching out to you on social media?
Yeah, yeah, most definitely. It's
Really?
yeah, even more so than past years. I've had a
Mm,
lot of people reach out. Um, yeah, some fans, some competitors. My favorite is especially getting more like younger female competitors
yeah.
reaching out or even just following me. Like I love seeing that. Um, just because I remember what it was like, just getting started in the sport and following, pros at the time, and I would look at them and I'd just be like, oh my gosh, they you just like they feel like larger than life almost. So that kind of like it takes me back to what I was talking about earlier about like being grateful for being in the position that I am now because I was once one of those girls that looked
Mhm,
up to, these pros and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so amazing." And now
mhm.
I can like provide that motivation, inspiration to other people and it's pretty cool if you think about it.
I think that's awesome. Yeah, and people really do look up to you and they love the posing like we talked about too. So yeah, you might have to do a posing coaching business maybe.
I know that's one thing I have held off on, but I get people asking me all the time if I do posing coaching. And
Really?
I do it here and there. Like I've got some local clients here and stuff like that, but I've never really advertised it on like a broader scale. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe one day I'll think about it, but it's hard with our businesses, the coaching business, the spice business, and my full-time job as a nurse practitioner. So my time is constrained a little bit.
Oh, I know. That's true. That's tough too. And
Mhm.
working as a nurse practitioner, I bet that's pretty challenging schedule wise, I bet.
Yeah, I mean, fortunately, my schedule right now isn't too bad. I work 7 days on and then 7 days off. So I
Oh,
have every other week off, which is really nice, but the 7 days on are quite intensive
I
for
bet.
sure.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
bet it is. But yeah, that's an unusual schedule too. That is kind of
Yeah.
nice. And you can kind
Yeah.
of work around the shows that way too, probably for scheduling
Yeah.
shows.
It definitely makes it easier for travel, which I like, because I've done as a nurse, I worked the 3 12-hour shifts a week. I've done Monday through Friday jobs. I've done overnights. I've done rotating shifts, and I feel like this 7 on, 7 off schedule provides me the most work-life balance that I've ever had from any other
Yeah.
schedule. So, and
Oh, I
that's
bet.
important to
That's really cool. I think that's terrific. Yeah, I can see that really being helpful for your bodybuilding career too. Um, I just have a couple more questions for you. Um, I know, Sherry Priami had recently put out a challenge to fans to kind of show up and show out to more bodybuilding shows and support the competitors with ticket sales and live stream sales. Um, what, in your opinion, as a competitor and a top competitor, how do you think promoters can attract more fans to come to the shows and show up like that?
me. That's a good question. You know, I don't know if it's really up to the promoters,
Hmm.
um, but I do think we as athletes should do should do our best to put stuff out there and promote the sport in a positive way.
Yeah.
Um, and that's gonna help. I I do think, there is a level of with women's physique and women's bodybuilding, in terms of the judging. um, I do think there has been a bit too much of an emphasis on conditioning and size.
Yeah,
Really, with all the female divisions, personally, I feel like it, there's been too much of an emphasis on conditioning and size,
yeah,
because all the divisions are getting bigger and harder and more conditioned, and not that that's a bad thing. And there is, to an extent, an evolution of the sport that is going to happen,
yeah,
but I do think we need to hold true to what each division is supposed to stand for and what the criteria is for each division. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
do
definitely.
feel like some of the judging has started to stray from those criteria. And
Yeah,
to be honest, that I think that does turn away some younger competitors because they're seeing some of the girls that are getting rewarded, and to put it bluntly, they don't want to look like that.
yeah, I
Just
understand.
being real.
Yeah, no,
So
I
that's
totally
something that
understand.
I try to hold true to. I always try to hold true to always maintaining my femininity, which is very, very important to me, and I think it's very, very important to maintain within the women's divisions.
Yeah,
So, that's just where I'm at with that.
I totally, yeah, I understand. I agree with you on that. And I think you have kind of kept your femininity for sure in terms of and your looks and everything too. And some of the ladies maybe have gone a little too far with that, so I can see where the young women would be kind of scared off from that too, because they're like, no, I'm just not willing to do that.
Right.
So
Yeah, and I talk to amateur competitors all the time, and one of their biggest concerns, and I can relate too, because I remember when I was an amateur, I just a big concern that I always hear is, "Oh, well, I don't wanna get that big. I don't wanna get that big," or, I don't wanna go that far." And what I always tell them is one size isn't everything, because
yeah,
even like, I'm usually one of the smaller girls compared to the other ladies in women's physique that I'm competing against, but I've still placed pretty well. So
yeah,
I always just try to, you know, remind them that size isn't everything, especially if you have a good complete package along with good conditioning. That can take you very far because it has taken me very far.
yeah,
Um,
that's true.
but it's hard though when you are a competitor and you see the girls at the top and what's getting rewarded. I'm not saying that they shouldn't be rewarded because they're incredible at what they do.
Hmm.
But again, like I said, I think some of the divisions are straying away from the criteria. If you look at the criteria on the website, on the IFBB Pro and NPC News Online website for women's physique, it says no striated glutes. But
Yeah,
you look at the top 5 in women's physique at the Olympia, every single one of those girls have striated glutes. So as a competitor, that's where it can get, it can get confusing for
I totally
sure.
understand that. And it's confusing and it's inconsistent too with,
Mhm,
yeah, exactly. I understand that. And that's one thing I agree with you because you bring like the shape and aesthetics that a lot of other competitors don't have and have like the small waist and everything too. No, you're right. I think the shape and the aesthetics really does matter. Um,
mhm,
but yeah, I think it's just, yeah, I don't know. There's that blurring of the line between women's physique and women's bodybuilding, which makes it tougher, I think.
for sure. And there's gotta be a balance, of course, because at the end of the day, this is bodybuilding and conditioning does matter. I'm not saying that, we need to start rewarding girls that don't look like they didn't even diet. That's not what
Yeah,
I'm saying at all, but
sure.
just
Yeah.
the level of conditioning and hardness and dryness that some of these girls are attaining
Hmm.
is really insane.
Yeah.
And I don't it's getting to a point now where I don't think that should be rewarded, especially if that is the only thing that athlete is really strong with. If there's a girl that maybe isn't quite as hard or conditioned, but has better overall development, better flow, better posing, better presentation. To me personally, it's a whole package, right? It's not a conditioning contest. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, sometimes when I've seen, how these shows shake out and it looks like it's just basically a conditioning contest.
Yeah. I gotcha.
That's that's where it gets a little, we got to have a balance, right? It's bodybuilding. It's not just a body fat level contest, or you know what I mean?
Yeah,
So,
exactly. And I know you're right. There's so much more than conditioning that needs to be taken into account. Yeah, you're right.
mhm,
So, yeah, oh, I'm glad you mentioned that because that is a good point. And and I worry a little bit about the extreme conditioning and the health implications. And as a nurse practitioner, you probably understand that too, better than
absolutely.
most.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, I didn't even mention that part about it, but I
Mm,
totally agree with you. And it is concerning. Like obviously with what we do in bodybuilding is not inherently with competing, I guess I should say,
mhm.
is inherently healthy. That's why I don't prep year round. That's why you know, I take time off after preps and make sure to get my health in store
Yeah,
and all of that. But yeah, there is a level of like how much more of this do we want to keep rewarding, and at what point are we encouraging, you know, what should, how should I say? I guess just poor health practices.
yeah,
You
I
know,
understand that.
it's
Yeah.
not a good
I know, I know. I think that's a good point. I think that's something that folks need to hear too, because I worry about the health of the competitors sometimes, and
thing.
yeah, it can be it's kind of scary. It seems like we haven't had as many deaths this year, at least, but I wonder if there was kind of a backlash when there were 2 or 3 years where there were just a lot of deaths in the industry. It's really
Right.
tragic.
It is. It's sad because all those, my husband and I talk about it, but all those competitors that unfortunately pass away, it's like, you hear about it and then a week, a month later, it's like they're lost in the wind and they're on, we're just talking about the next competitor, the next phenom. But it's, this is really serious stuff, and I think it is something that needs to be talked about and we need to continue to talk about it.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with you on that. I was thinking early on during the Portugal show, I got it like up at 3 a.m. this morning to watch it, but they had is there a doctor in the audience? And it was somebody not on that was competing that was sick, but it's somebody in the audience that was sick. But it just worried me. It's like, oh no, like a competitor is getting, passed out or whatever, something bad happened. Fortunately, it
Yeah,
wasn't. But that kind of stuff's scary though. So
yeah.
um yeah. So I was wondering, would you like to shout out any sponsors that you've been working with?
Yeah, so, All Max Nutrition, I've been with them for, gosh, going on 8 years.
Wow,
Um, they've
nice.
always been great yeah, they've taken care of both Marcus and myself. So they've been awesome. And, my tanning sponsor, Liquid Sunrays, also been with them for, gosh, I think 7, maybe 8 years as well. They
Really?
always take the best care of me, yes, the best
Nice.
tan. um
Yeah, that's a
but
good
yeah,
company.
and of course, not a sponsor, but my number one, my hubby Marcus, he's my number one fan, my biggest supporter. I would not be here and doing this if it weren't for him. He keeps me going, and he holds me accountable. That's for sure. So we hold each other accountable. But I'm super blessed, super grateful to have him.
That's terrific. Yeah, he's a really good guy, and I think you guys work well off each other, and keep each other accountable, and yeah, y'all are
For sure.
just. I think you really are like a power bodybuilding power couple kind of thing. Yeah, that's terrific though, and those are good sponsors too. Good to represent those. Um,
Mhm.
I wanted to thank you too for the Perry spices samples that you sent me recently. And I was just curious, how did you get involved with making those spices? And I'll make sure to include the link to those down below too. But how'd you get started with that?
Yeah, thank you. So we've actually been talking about it for months. We've been wanting to, because we love cooking. I don't know if you've seen our cooking posts, but we've got a big
Yeah.
Blackstone grill that we do all our meal prep, and we get a lot of enjoyment out of cooking together. And we love our seasonings. So we'd been talking about it for months, and honestly, it took us a while to kind of find like a seasoning distributor to work with. Took us
Okay.
months just to even get like a callback, but
Really?
finally we
Yeah.
we found a company, and it actually worked out perfect because their goals and values really we found aligned with ours. And they use all natural seasonings. They don't put any MSG, no preservatives. All their products are gluten free, and
Nice.
which was our main reason why we wanted to create seasonings. We wanted to create like clean seasonings for people to use, that wouldn't cause any bloating, any GI distress. Because we were also thinking too, from like a bodybuilding perspective, we were like, all these seasonings that we're using, with like MSG and stuff, is that having an effect on our gut health? Is it affecting maybe our water retention or our digestion? And so that's kind of how it came about. And we just
Great.
are, are really excited to share, our love of cooking with other people. And it's been really fun so far. I'm really excited about it.
That's terrific. Yeah, the spices I've tried them and they are really good. They're very tasty and uh and y'all just ship in the US or do you ship internationally?
Just in the US right now, hopefully internationally soon.
Okay, terrific. Yeah, definitely. I'll make sure to include a link to them down below. But yeah, I think that's a great idea to do that. And the reasoning behind it too, I think is really good. And I think you're gonna add some spices too, right? There are more flavors.
Yeah, so we actually just recently dropped our new backyard barbecue rub, which is amazing, and
Okay.
then a no sugar added apple pie spice.
Oh,
So those
nice.
are the newest additions, and then we've got a couple more we'll probably drop next month. We're gonna kind of slowly kind of roll out a few at a time, so we're really excited.
And the four that you sent me, the four original.
Yeah, the original is Sweet Charm, which is our sweet seasoning, Chicken Kick, Honey Chipotle Charm, and Taco Time.
Very cool. I think I like the kickin' chicken best. That's a good one.
I love that one. It's so good.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Yeah. Well, I know we're almost out of time. I was just wondering if there's anything I missed that you'd like to address.
I don't think so. I think you covered a lot. Great questions.
Thank you. And I think our connection got better toward the end too. So I think our interview will be,
Oh, good,
yeah,
good.
I'm sorry about that. I'm still going to try to post it and cobble it together, but sorry about that with the problems with
No,
our
no worries.
internet there. Would you mind doing a quick double bicep flex for me?
Sure. Oh, there we go.
Uh, Looking great, Haley. Wow, amazing. Good peaks
Thank
there on
you.
your biceps.
I'm working on them.
No, and best wishes to both of you in Chicago too. And I'm going to try to watch that on the live stream probably. So, but yeah, definitely. I hope you all do both great at the show and hope, yeah, would love to see you get O qualification. So keep pushing for that for sure.
Look, we're pushing. We're pushing. You never know. Anything could happen. So I'm gunning for it.
That's awesome. No, you're going to do great. I know. And you always look awesome on stage. And like I said, it was great to see you again in person in Omaha. So, and yeah, I'm sorry I missed you in Chicago. I decided I'm going to Vegas for Olympia. So I'm just trying to save up for that right now. So, because that's going to
Understood.
be a
Yeah.
little
I
expensive.
would rather go to Vegas anyway. That's okay.
Oh, yeah, Vegas is cool. Yeah, it's fun.
For
I
sure.
got to go to 21 and 23 Olympia in Orlando, and I saw you and Marcus. I think it was the 23 Olympia where I saw you at the Allmax.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and y'all usually work the booth for some of the
Yep.
events.
Yeah. Every year.
That's awesome. Yeah, Allmax is great. So But thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it. And like I mentioned, I'll try to get this posted next day or so. And but best wishes to you and Marcus, and good to see you again.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, David. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Haley. Take care.